guys. Another episode of another episode of Shreddy Boys.
Why did you leave that?
New episode of Shreddy Boys. We got your favorite segment in the whole goddamn world. It is New Guest Who Dis. And Brian, who do we have on this stupid goddamn show of ours?
You always call it stupid, but anyways, well, it is an Influence 5, despite Alicia being there. Is it Fantasma Negra? No, wait, is it the way that David said it? Fantasma Negra.
Fantasma Negra.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is us.
It is we.
Awesome.
It is I.
Well, how have you guys been? What you been up to? I heard y'all dropped a new album.
It's been good. We dropped the album this past Friday. 13 songs. Took us 6 months. Worked with Dan Klein. And we worked really hard on it. I mean, Gus and Alicia could talk more about it too.
Yeah, man, we put in time on that. So we've been just kind of a little stuck in the studio for a bit, but we're getting back to rehearsals for our upcoming show, August 10th at Cobra Lounge. It's our album release show that day.
It's gonna be good. We took like almost
sweet.
6 months to we took almost 6 months to like record this entire album. And it was impressive because one of the songs that was on there like just kind of came up like in the between time that we were recording. So we initially had another song that was supposed to be on there, but Dave and Gus like came by with the new song called Nameless Hopeless, and then it's just like I remember one night it was storming and it was just like a really like atmospheric type of thing. I was just messing around with some melody and lyrics, and then boom, a week later we were done with the song. So 13 songs, and then the album release show, like Gus said, August 10th. So it's good times. I'm excited.
So, question: If that 13th song would have never came out, would you just name the album 12, or it still would have been 13?
No, we had another song in its place ready to go, but we just swapped it out for this one. It just felt more in line with the sound of this album.
It didn't sound like Disturbed.
Right.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I'm like, I wonder if they're afraid of Black Sabbath's retaliation because they have an album called 13. No, I'm just joking.
Wait, Henry, didn't you find that out?
Oh, that's really cool.
We're in good company.
Yeah, we did search up how many albums. There's actually a lot of artists that released their albums 13. It's insane. So I mean, that's gonna be really good.
Yeah.
Be really good on the search. A child's play walking.
That's right off the top of my head. Megadeth, Black Sabbath, Mushroom Head.
Oh, I know about Mushroom Head.
Mushroom Head. I'm like, oh, okay, that's pretty cool. So, I have had, unfortunately, I've only had one chance to go through the entire album, and I gotta say, I've been monitoring, you guys, every time I hang out with like Fabian or something, or like recently I've been seeing Dan a lot more, and just hearing these tracks and just, hearing the process that you guys have been taking is just like, it's crazy, and then you guys have been doing also like the drop system that's kind of like common in I'd say modern days, where you like sprinkle a single here, sprinkle a single there. Was that cognizant, or were you guys just like as they go kind of drop on, we don't really know when the album's going to come out? Or I mean, was there a battle plan there?
We had Run to release the first single before dropping the album, but picking the first one was the hardest. But I think it was more of like it was during the time of I think it was February that we're working on that first single, which was On Ice. And we wanted to had the initial idea of also shooting a music video, which we did drop it alongside the debuting our first single from this album. So I really think like On Ice was the first step, but alongside of that, we had like a concept going on that we wanted to display. And then everyone just contributed really like a lot in the music video. Like we shot it at the Rock Spot, and that inspired us to make maybe like another music video for each single that we're gonna drop, but it was so time consuming that we postponed those projects for post album release show.
All right. Yeah, I when you guys dropped on ice, yeah, awesome video by the way, guys. But
Thanks.
I remember that was one of the songs that I really latched onto early. Um, what because I mean obviously this is no mystery. I've recorded you guys I think like twice at this point, and I've seen you guys maybe like three times at this point, maybe. But it's pretty crazy to have seen you guys like grow this quickly. Like I remember the first time I saw you, it was I think it was before Fabian and Dave joined the band, and you too, I believe, Gus.
Yeah. Yeah, I joined at the same time as them. We're
Yeah. So I was like, you know, I remember seeing that lineup and being like, oh, these guys are like really fun, But there definitely was like, okay, it's a little looser, Like in my mind, I was like, I think you guys still have like a little ways to go, and then Fabian and Dave joined, and it's just interesting to see like because Fabian doesn't play keyboards, or at least I never knew him to play keyboards. And then Dave is a metal guitar player. Like it's so weird that it worked out so well, And then like the just what it is now, I can say confidently is the most polished version from that first time I saw you guys. So it's very interesting. Listening to that album is it really showcases all of your talents, I will say.
thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Now, for my sake, I will say I haven't gotten around to listening to it just yet. I have a backlog of other stuff that's gotten in the way, but I will get to it. I'll make sure to prioritize.
It's really good.
To it. No, I bet it is. I'm pretty sure. I mean, if Mike's speaking so highly of it, I'm definitely giving it a chance.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
not that I'm like closed minded on listening to anything outside of metal, but yeah, I listen to like way too much music. Like I guess an unhealthy amount while I'm at work. So I have like I really I have like a massive backlog of stuff that I got to catch up on, and yeah, it's just been brutal. But no, yeah, I'll definitely check it out when I have the chance.
One question I did have, with the 3 singles you released, I noticed you guys have different artwork for each one of them, and it seemed to be like a theme with hands specifically. And then when you dropped the album, I was fully expecting hands, and I'm like, oh, there's no hands on this one, and I was like, what was the inspiration for that versus what ended up being the album artwork?
I think like for the first one on ice, uh, I guess the concept we wanted to do something on with ice originally. So we wanted to get like a heart and then kind of like have like a sheet of ice. Or at the time it was February, we couldn't, but everything was already melting. So thanks to global warming, that got us to do like the art that we have now. And then there was another concept that Alicia wanted to do to see maybe at the time we had a food collaboration with Bizarro and Sons, and we asked if they had a walk-in freezer, and then there was like a concept where like her face would be like that, tilted up,
Mm-hmm.
and then with like smoke of like coldness and stuff, but it'll be a close-up of her lips and stuff, kind of like that. Um, but that it didn't work out either. So we had like 2 weeks to like at least come up with cover artwork. So what I did was I grabbed like what got me to like, you know what, this is our first single, maybe just number one, like we're like number one single coming out as an indication that's our first single, but kind of going on
Right.
theme of what the music video is going to be about. And the sheets of ice, I mean, Alicia could tell you all about it too, as well, like her experience
It
with her
was
hand and
it was just so uncomfortable, bro, because it was just like fake blood. Like Fabian put on like a ton of like fake scabs all over my hands,
Yeah.
and then it's just like having like a good chunk of my forearm, like from this all the way down here,
Yeah.
on top of like a sheet of ice, and it was like a really uncomfortable pose. It was just
Yeah.
cold and everything, and Henry's just like hold still for like a good 10 minutes, and it's just like taking pictures after pictures. So I put on like los Linares del Norte, or like los Cadetes, and just like a lot of older stuff just to like, chill out on the time in the background. We were just listening to like a bunch of like Norteña. So this was going on. So
It's
Right.
it's kind of like getting a tattoo. You kind of have to just zone out and not pay attention to to what's going on.
yeah, it was gross. But we did it. We got it through.
Okay, so that was that single, and then the other two are also hand themed. So was that just cognizant, like, hey, we did this, let's just keep going with the same theme, more or
Yeah,
less, you know?
yeah. It was just following it up. So like enter those was like between two, and I'm like, why don't you put two hands? So I put my hand in my girlfriend's hand, and the way it was set up was like two like weird lights, but on the same side, and I had to take a picture with like my Canon camera that's like 15 pounds at least.
Oh,
um, and so I had to take it like in an awkward pose and with my wrist all like
yeah.
Lado and shit. And then we took that photo, and then shout out to my girlfriend. She edited all the photos from one to
Nice.
three, basically. Yeah. And
She
then the
did the
third
album
one was
artwork too.
huh?
She did the album artwork too.
Oh yeah, the album artwork too. Yeah, she did the album work for that.
Does
And under
does she
basically like
A week or
I
two,
was gonna
right?
say, does she have any
yeah.
like a handle or anything, or a creator page if you want to plug that?
Yeah. It's at Bury Me in Flowers Instagram. Um
Very cool.
Yeah, but for the third one, when I said was awesome because it was like I was like, oh, how are we gonna do three hands? Is it gonna be like this? Like we don't want to throw gang signs or like or like we didn't want to do either of those. I like two SMPs because it's just I don't know. So I was like two hands, but then I said it's like well, for Alicia, she can tell you it's a love song, and what it all means and stuff. So I figured like, well, what's romantic when you hold someone's hand? It's just one hand and two hands are holding it. And then that day, at least you could tell how hot it was that day to take that photo.
Bruh,
Mhm.
the flies were eating me and Santi, my husband. It was just like we were posing in the underneath like a ladder, and he and Henry was again posing us for like 10 minutes. It's just like hold still or like move your hands this way or move your hands that way. And Santi doesn't really pose his hands. It was his first experience as a hand model. Same for me. And yeah, it was just hot as hell. It was like the sun was beating down. It was midday, but it came out really nice. And then the fourth one was just all of us at UFC, so it was pretty cool. We took some pictures there with a photographer named Zalitzin Vasquez. They're a really awesome
Mhm.
photographer. And we
I've heard
just
of that
like
name before.
they're really, really good. I really appreciate their work. We all went to UFC and we just took some pictures at like some of the front gates. I'm not too familiar with the UFC campus, but we're like it's goth, it's on the south side, It's gonna be good. So that was
The
our
theme.
yeah, the theme, and
Mm.
that was our fourth album right there. I mean, not fourth album, fourth EP. No, wait, no,
Album
we're
artwork.
single. Yeah, the
Fourth single.
yes for Out of Time. So yeah.
All right. Very cool. Um, and then what was the inspiration for the final artwork then?
For the album or
Just some,
the
yeah,
time.
yeah. Sorry for the album.
Oh, oh, the album. Okay.
Yeah,
Um,
because I'm looking at it. It's very like abstract almost.
Yeah, it is.
I like it.
it was mainly everyone's. It was actually Isis, who was my girlfriend, who designed the album.
Hmm.
Isis had worked on something like I think from 2019, I think, or 2020 album work that she did, and it had like a very droopy kind of like I forgot there was a specific word for it, but it's like very like streetwear kind of like graphic design kind of stuff.
Hmm.
And then I told these guys, oh, we're also on the crunch roll too. We're like freaking out. We're like, okay, who's gonna like do the artwork? How much money is it gonna be? It's gonna cost a lot, and then the
Yeah.
turnaround cost of turnaround. So I asked her, I'm like, well, she's willing to do it for free. She's been supporting us for. She made the original logo as well. So we're like, okay, let's try this. And then I asked everyone to send me their inspiration. Gus and Alicia and Dave and Fabian, they they all put in their input of what they like. And then she did her what she does best. And then she did 4 versions of album work,
Holy
variations.
shit.
So I sent those 4 variations to the group chat, and then everyone voted the one
I
that
like
you
it a
see
lot,
now.
man.
Yeah.
It very much reminds me, again, kind of like ironic, really, but it does kind of remind me of like artwork that like a progressive metal band or something would use. It's
Or a modern day hardcore band would actually.
I like it though. It's very clean. You can tell when a band will, you know, just hire some random dude from like Indonesia or something and just crap out something real quick for like $50. And then there's, like artwork that looks very clean, very tight, and it's very important, in terms of presentation, obviously, when you are promoting, you know, because essentially your band is your brand, so to speak. So, it's very important, when you present that brand that it comes out strong,
So normally, Alicia, you're familiar with this. We would say like, hey, how would you define your genre? But only this time I'm gonna take the lead role because Mike has been doing that since like the beginning of it. So instead of me saying pretend I'm an old lady, pretend I'm a metal elitist who thinks metal is better than everything else and everything else can go to the trash. What would you describe your genre as, and why is it? And why do you think I'm wrong for thinking that way?
I- Who wants to go first?
I'm down. I'm
Yeah,
down for
like
this
Who
one.
wants to go first?
Okay.
I mean, dude, me, I grew up on metal. I learned how to play with that. Rust in Peace. I tried to learn that whole album in high school on bass. I was in progressive metal bands as well, into Atheist, into Opeth, Mastodon. Like, so that was what I grew,
ooh,
like, was raised on musically from high school on. Like, um, and to me, I feel like we're definitely post punk, but we're the new wave of American post punk with an injection of like metal into it. Like you
mm-hmm.
could feel the metal roots from Dave. You could feel the metal roots from me. I know Alicia a little bit, right?
Yeah.
A little bit, but
Mm-hmm.
I think once we kind of joined the band, and then Fabian, obviously, once we kind of joined in, I think that those elements, even though we weren't doing it intentionally, there are things within metal where I always look at it like a boot camp. Like if you need to understand rhythm, if you need to understand playing leads, if you need to understand riffs that can stand on their own, metal does it. It's a tough thing to be able to play and perform live and write. So to me, I think all of that primed me for Fantasma. Just it was easy to kind of take some of those elements that I like in music and just apply them onto here and just kind of give a new perspective to what Alicia and Henry were doing with the band, because we took those elements and I took them very seriously. I did a lot of studying, hundreds of songs of fucking play in a playlist, and I took it seriously. I sat down, did my homework, and just was like, okay, what makes these songs this, and how do I put my tastes into that, mix them together, and come up with this newish style that still pays homage to what these guys created before,
Trying to
but
make
also
it,
propels it forward.
you're trying to make it like stand out is what you're saying, right?
Yeah, because the
And
thing
find
with
out what. Oh,
right,
go
the thing
ahead.
with a lot of post punk to me is that it does kind of like drone on for a really long time. Whereas me, again, going back to Megadeth and Rust in Peace, especially like I was a fan of just riff after riff after riff after riff. Like it doesn't stop coming. Like it's just new things coming to your face, and you could feel that with Feels Personal. Um, I kind of wrote the chunk of the initial idea for that, and it was a lot of trying to discipline myself with not just putting too many things, but it did come out with, especially at the end, like just it breaks down into this almost kind of progressive style rock
Mm.
thing. But yeah.
That's actually a perfect transition because I gotta say, like, I know I've known Henry obviously for I'd say like years at this point, right? We've recorded a lot of stuff, for a long time. We like
Oh, so
with
that's the
video.
Henry you talked. I'm joking.
This is the Henry.
No,
He's-
because last year it was like, oh, I'm like, who's Henry? And then,
and then with Alicia, obviously, I've known you through influence, and then Dave and Fabian I've known for years at this point, but I haven't really gotten to know you, Gus, and what your story is in all of this.
Yeah, I mean, funny, like a funny story is we actually were all at the first Fantasma show. So I had a cover band at the time. We'll still do. They're called Evil. They're an Interpol uh, cover band, and we were playing this show with Fantasma Negra and Influence. I had never heard of any of them, or I didn't know Alicia or Henry, or really anyone in that group. I knew of Fabian and I knew of Dave through Vicious Attack and some of their other projects. Um, but yeah, we all played that show together, and the vibe from Fantasma Negra just like caught my attention really hard. So me and my wife, like, we would go to so many of their shows, and I was just a fan. It was just I wasn't expecting anything out of it, especially because once Alicia and Adrian joined, siblings, like, I never even considered that there would be an option to join. And one day I got the call from Henry, and he asked me, and I took some time to think about it, because I had two bands at that time. I'm like, can I do a third? And I was telling my wife, I'm like, I feel like this is if I don't say yes, I'm going to regret this decision.
Yeah.
And
You're like, if Fabian could be in 8 bands, I could
right,
do 3.
right.
I can relate because no, I didn't mean to interrupt. I can relate because as of this year, I joined my third band, Beheading the Icon. I was on the same boat as you. At first I said temporary, and then I'm like, you know what, I'll do it full time, because the same mindset as you. If I say no, I'm gonna regret it. And yeah, no, I can definitely relate to that.
Yeah, especially a band like Beheading the Icon too. Like, they're so well known and established. They got a good following and good sound.
Oh, why? Thank you.
Yeah, I think we shared the same room with Beheading the Icon, actually, about a year and a half ago ish.
Oh, they moved to the second floor. So
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were we shared a room with them on the first floor. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, that was before I joined, but yeah, no, that's honestly, yeah, that's a pretty cool breakdown of, like, what you describe. Honestly, I mean, for me, pretty much like how you say, like, metal has an onslaught of riff after riff after riff, and then I think you were talking about how punk, what's it called? It has what's it called? You said it's been droning, or
well, post punk has this kind of like, which that's the thing to me that I'm not the biggest fan of. Is just the same like thing just playing over and over again. And I get it. I mean, especially if you hit the right groove and people dance to it and they're just moving along to it. But for me personally, like, my own taste, I can't. Like, I'll give it four times, and my instinct is to just switch it, like, start, which is cool with these guys too. Like, I was able to kind of start playing around with more keyboard stuff and throwing in some guitar stuff as well, where I'm just like, okay, let me train myself to let the melody kind of do that, throw in a keyboard melody, throw in a guitar melody, keyboard, like, just slowly, like, kind of stack them up in a way that it doesn't sound so boring to me, but it's also like not taking away from what the genre kind of is. So it was cool. It was cool kind of playing with that. It was a nice little challenge.
And capitalizing off of that, like, you're absolutely right with, like, punk music. I mean, that's kind of like the whole thing about it, is you're just doing fast power chords, and after maybe the third song, you're kind of like, all right, I'm done with this.
And it's typically the same formula, that most bands in that genre do. I mean, I'm not saying like it's a bad thing. It works for them. I mean, same could be said with metalcore. I mean, modern metalcore, right. All of the bands that are coming out now, they sound completely identical. They're using the same formula rather than trying to, like, I guess instead of, like, trying to use it to inspire them, they're trying to, like, I guess almost copy and paste the same success as others, and it does get very repetitive, and it's like, it's always good to, like, change it up a bit, but not try taking away too much, from you don't want to get lost into trying to find, I guess you could say, like, your musical identity when it comes to, like, writing stuff, but you also just don't want to, I guess, have a lot of similarities, to, like, what other bands do as well, which I totally understand, and I mean, I respect that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been cool too because like these guys all bring different things to the table, and it's like a new toy to play with, almost with each of them. Like I know Attic Song and Spaces, kind of me and Alicia brought the initial idea to that, and I kind of structured some things in there, and like those were really cool to see how she thinks about music, how what is her approach to songwriting, and how do my influences, my ideas interact with that. And then, Dave did Nameless Hopeless and Out of Time, and I did the same thing. Like I took first shot at that. I'm like, let me play with that toy first and see what we can add on here. And they all sound different, which is cool. Like every song has its own identity. They're all doing different things, and it's just been fun to work with these guys and kind of explore their ideas and their influences here.
I was gonna say, like, with the album and the first the singles that you guys released, but also the album in general, it's very difficult to create an album that is not only cohesive but also you know, like, a lot of albums will suffer from the fact that I'm like, oh well, this single's kind of weak, but we needed that to round out the 10 or the 11 or the 12 or in your case 13. But like, there is a lot of times like a point in the album where you skip, or you're like, oh, this is just kind of the same thing, so you skip, or people will do like filler tracks that are like 30 seconds, of like some clean part, or maybe like you just filler. But with your guys' album, it's like every single track, as you said, has its own identity, its own sound, and every single track also has these little parts that are very unique. I have to say, like, I didn't turn it off, which is honestly the greatest compliment I can give somebody.
What he's saying is,
your album wasn't boring.
Wow.
Thank you. That means a lot, man.
Hey, you know what? 2 thumbs up from Michael.
I'll give you a preemptive 2 thumbs up. I definitely will listen to it thoroughly. Well, probably more times than this guy because I have a higher attention span than he does. I'm joking. No, but yeah, no. I mean, hearing all of this, I'm really looking forward to like jamming to it. Definitely. I'm always in the market for something new.
It's definitely a driving album. Like as you're driving, I was driving up north on yesterday, and it just fit so well. Lakeshore Drive.
My job involves a lot of driving.
Oh my God. I literally had that exact same thought. I'm like, I don't even want to go home right now. Like I would love to go down Lakeshore Drive and just listen to this whole thing.
Oh, that's even better now.
But it was cool though, like figuring out the order of the album. Like Henry can tell you more. Like we were like the Charlie Day meme with just post-its and like written down like what's the key, what's the BPM for all of these, and trying to structure them. And we collaboratively sat down there like so late, like for it was days, right? Basically, we were trying to figure out this formula. Like how can we make this like not lose their attention, because songs do that. It's it's hard to sit, even with my favorite bands, like it's hard to sit through and listen to the whole thing.
And most people nowadays, I don't mean to interrupt, most people nowadays, have like more of a lower attention span. Sometimes releasing an album is a huge risk because there are people, I would say like myself, that will go through it, beginning to end, but there's also some people that will like, listen to a song or two, maybe 3 or half, or probably just a one, like
guilty.
I mean, and that's why you even see bands, just doing EPs because mainly for that, same issue. But no, yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, it must have been brutal, trying to figure out like what the order is gonna be and everything. That must have been like the longest like hours of your life,
Yeah, definitely.
So I will, based off of what you said something earlier, I'd like to open it up to everybody. You said like you would bring a song idea, or like Dave had a song idea. Is that how you approach writing in general? Is
it a democracy, or is there someone in the background that's like the big boss that takes over the whole thing?
Or is it like I have a song idea? It goes doot 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 doot. Turn that into something.
That's you, Alicia.
Yeah.
Dude, I literally have this recording of her. She just like hummed it into the my phone, and like we made a song. That was Spaces.
Yeah.
It was her humming.
I love that
Yeah.
song. It's just a
Oh,
good
thanks.
song.
It is a good song. I remember like I wrote a little riff and it took me fucking forever. I was on my couch just like re-recording it over and over again on my phone and I'm like, I need to get this perfect for Gus because he's so meticulous. Like he like has GarageBand. You have GarageBand on your iPhone, right?
Yeah, so I
Yeah.
use it like a sketchbook.
Yeah.
Like basically like jot all my ideas, throw them in there. Like it's easy because I can just like look at everything like
Yeah.
laid out, like, and it's fast. Like,
See, I don't have an iPhone. I have an Android. I don't got that sophistication. So it's just like, you know what? Gus knows a lot more about music theory. The same thing, like you and my brother, you guys know a lot more about music theory and like composition than I would on a technical scale. So I'm like, okay, he knows more about BPM and more about like key signature. So I was just like, all right, I don't know what key signature this riff is in, but let's try to make something with it. So that's how like Spaces came out. Yeah, because it was just like a random idea, and it's like I don't know what to do with this. Same thing with Attic Song. I'm like, me and Henry, we worked on this riff when we had that break between phase two Fantasma and phase three Fantasma, and I'm like, I don't know what to do with this. I don't know how to like make this into a song. And then I remember I gave it to you and to Dave, and I'm like, I don't know what to do with this, like you guys figure something out. And then you guys did, and then I was like, okay. And I kept listening to it and like the instrumental part for sure and like melodies just kind of like came through afterwards. It was just like, doing laundry and just listening to that song over and over again, like, what works and what doesn't work with this. And yeah, for sure. Like melodies are definitely easier for me to come through with rhythms, but overall, like large scale compositions, it's hard for sure. So like, I'm very thankful that Gus is in the band and he helps out so much with the compositions of the song. And I know Henry, it's completely different for you because like you're a bassist by nature, right? So you
Yeah,
do everything by
yeah,
bass.
yeah. I started off as a bass. That's my first instrument, and my second was drums, which was I started in 2022. But in just those span of years, like seeing Alicia and her brother be in influence, I saw the like their potential, and then seeing Gus on bass too, and I'm like, this guy he's a wizard, he's a bass wizard. But
You're
in
a
terms
wizard,
of like,
Harry.
yeah,
I'm a what?
but it was so cool. It was really awesome. Just like how we work with each other's songs, even lyrics as well. Like me and Alicia work on a lot of lyrics, and it's fun always writing lyrics for each song, especially for there's some songs for a while like the song is done but it needed lyrics. Like it takes two. Like oh, what do we say?
yeah, they're great lyrics. From I still listen to Out of Time, and that like the lyrics for that just hit so good. They connect. They make sense musically. The way that Alicia delivers the lines is fucking awesome. Uh, I struggle to pay attention to vocals for some reason. I'm really focused on like the music, so
Yeah.
sometimes the vocals go over my head. But once
All
we
those
went in,
noises you make.
right, like once we went in to do the tracking for the album, and I got to hear her in the headphones, like in
Yeah.
live, I was like, holy shit, she's like really,
Belting it
yeah,
out.
and she does great work, man. It's she's probably the most raw talent per raw the person with the most raw talent that I've worked with like ever. Like it just
Aw.
she
Aw.
just
No, de que no.
Aw.
delivers. And
No.
I
the,
mean,
the first
I've
the
seen
first
some.
experience I had with that was on ice.
Aw.
Like I gave him kind of almost the whole song done, but she just put the the voice melodies on there are awesome. I know Henry, you helped with the lyrics on that,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, and like the
It
combination of it
just
all, like
works.
yeah, it feels cool because this band is a full like the machine is working, like all the cogs are turning, everything's
Yeah.
going,
You
and it
guys
feels
have great
good. Like
chemistry with each
yeah,
other.
it feels very equal at the end of the
And
day, regardless of what we do or do not contribute in each different parts. At the end of the day, it does feel pretty well
I was
balanced.
gonna say, like what I said earlier, with just like everybody just shines so much in this album. Like everyone just like, oh, there's I like that little fill right there, drum fill, where I'm like, oh, they let this part breathe a little bit so you can hear the keys, and like it's really interesting to see, like, because I've known Dave for years. I was very intimidated by Dave when I joined Vicious Attack. I was like, oh my god, I'm not as good as that, and to see him kind of take like a backseat kind of role and only come through when he like, he's like, all right, here's the guitar, and like, the keys come through at certain parts, and like, certain parts of the vocals really just like, there's I forgot what the song is, but it was one of the singles that you guys released, and it's like the it's very long. You
Oh
do
yeah,
like
yeah.
a very long
Oh, that's
sustained.
entre dos.
Entre
Okay.
dos.
It's very,
So
yeah.
that's great, and it really comes through because you guys allow it to, if that makes sense. Like, it seems like you were all very cognizant of like, we're all kind of like, working together versus, one thing being shown instead of
And then everyone
everything.
else learn or add whatever they can to it.
Very cohesive.
Right, and
That's
yeah,
what I'm saying.
going back to Alicia's vocals, like that to me, when we first started really getting some of these songs going, I was just like, okay, the vocals are like the main driving. It's the power of this. Like, we cannot let anything get in the way of that when it's there. Like, so on my end, I was trying to be really aware of just not overstepping that and getting into the vocal lane and just letting her take the shine because she deserves it.
Well, no, I mean everybody deserves it. I mean it's just it also like just taking a step back too, like let Dave shine out, or then like I love your baseline and Attic song where it's just like really, really driving. It's just like a big heartbeat of the song. And then Henry's amazing drum tracks, mechanically precise, as Bizarro and Sun said. Mechanically precise.
Yeah,
So
Bizarro and Zun is pretty dope. I've actually what's it called? I think I've played at two of their events, one with First Step and then the other with, well, technically both First Step and Beheading that same day. But yeah, they're really cool people.
they
It's
are.
interesting
Very kind.
seeing your rise as well, Henry. Like, correct me if I'm wrong. You weren't a drummer at
No.
all.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
I had a drum set that I had from an old coworker, and she sold that drum set for me for $500, and I was like, all right. So I had it in my attic, and over here in this floor, um, for 6 years, and then I think in 2020 I just wanted to pique my interest in drumming because
Yeah.
before I just played bass just for fun, and it's great. But making that transition, I always thought bass and drums go like that.
Oh, 100%.
So working with like Gus, he's taught me more of being a drummer, if anything,
Yeah.
which is awesome. Along with Fabian and some other people that actually have metal backgrounds as well. They're like, just don't do this, don't that, do this, don't do that, and then
Yeah, man.
It's
even
always good to have someone to learn from, like always having
yeah,
that
it's
bandmate that
awesome.
just pushes you to get better and better, gives you pointers on like what to improve on.
Yeah, absolutely. And then everyone else too, like everyone, uh, if they send me their playlist of music or songs they like, uh, I'll just listen to it. I'm like, I want to do that. That
Yeah,
sounds
that's
awesome.
good. That's how you learn, man. And again, like, it's I keep bringing this up because it's extremely abnormal how you guys all came together. Like, like Fabian, I've only ever known him to play drums, and then he would kind of mess around with like his little piano that he would have in his room. But he didn't even really know how to play a keyboard, and now he's playing a keyboard, and I'm like, what the heck is going on here? But seeing you guys for the first time, like, as that unit, was like, oh my god, these guys are
I
really
have yet
good.
to see that. I think I've only seen you guys once, and that was like before you joined Gus, and before
The three,
before the three joined. I mean, for that was also a great first impression as well. I was like, oh shit, because I think what I've heard of, I think we were talking about them when we were in interviewing Influence, and I was like, oh, I guess I have something else to look forward to, you know.
Yeah.
And I mean, I have been paying attention to what you guys have been doing with the album, but yeah, like I said, it's just I just have a massive backlog. So
Uh,
I have-
we're laughing at the person that ran
I know,
behind.
me
I
too.
know.
I'm laughing too.
That was pretty funny.
Yeah, but I was like I've it's been on my radar, but it just takes me a while to get to it. So yeah, like this year, like I mean, I told Mike I'm trying to step it up into like listening to newer stuff or current releases, keep up with everything. This, I mean, maybe to someone looking from the outside, they're like, this guy's gonna go insane, or he's already there. But I mean, it's something I like. I like listening to music. I'm very enthusiastic. Well, I don't just listen to albums. You know, I like to analyze them. You know, keep listening to them. You know, just beginning to end, like multiple times on end.
Yeah. I have a question. Your show will have already passed, unfortunately, by the time this releases. Do you have any plans? Like, are you gonna do like a special super duper special T-shirt, or like, I mean, obviously the album is gonna be for sale, but do you have any plans for anything extra? Anything special?
Henry?
Oh, we're gonna have some cool 2 shirts that we're gonna be releasing. So one exclusively that you can get at the album release show, and then we're just gonna release 2 different types of shirts. We're also gonna have some more coffins. Alicia also, not only she performs on instruments, and sings, but she also makes these awesome coffins that are made out of resin. So they actually open up and stuff. It's kind of cool. You can put your weed in there, but
Nice.
and then
Stash.
oh yeah, and then just overall, just
A little longer than a few minutes later.
take a drink of water, a beer. I'll have these like shirts wrapped up, and then taped around it is a sandwich bag full of like just candy, or just candy, or like
Henry?
buttons. Yeah.
Right.
I don't mean to stop you. You
Oh.
cut like I'd say maybe a fifth into that explanation. So if you could repeat that.
Sure. No, during shows, we throw shirts.
Okay.
We throw shirts, and it has like I think one of the past shows, we had well, we threw how many shirts? Like just a shirt, but I threw like 5 different Ziploc bags full of Emporium coins, and with buttons of the Fantasma Negra buttons and stuff, and it was great. It was a great way to interact, but we look forward to doing that kind of stuff in our upcoming shows.
That's cool.
I'll make sure to catch one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, that sounds great. I'm obviously we're talking from the past future, if you will.
The future past.
The future past. Days of future past.
There you go.
But if you're watching this, hopefully everything went well and there wasn't an earthquake or something like that.
Damn it, Mike. Anyways, we appear to be running short on time. So if anything, there is one final question, and that is, where can we find you? Plug in your social media. Where can we find your music? All of that. Throw it on.
Do
there.
it.
Throw it like
Alright.
you're throwing your shirts at people.
We're on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Music, I believe Deezer as well, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Ooh.
You can also reach us at www.fantasmanegra.com. Gus? You have anything?
What's the Instagram handle? Fantasma Punta Negra?
Yes.
Negra?
Yeah.
There you go.
There you go.
All right. Fantastic. And I will say, just leaving on this note, it's been great seeing you guys grow.
Congrats on the release, by the way.
Yeah,
Thank you.
fantastic. Again, I can't, and then with you guys recording with Dan, I've seen Dan grow over the years as well, and I've talked to him several times, and he's about specifically your album, and he just every time sounded so excited to be working on something unique, basically. Just unique and not metal is the way that he put it, you know? So it's just good, you know, to see everything come together. I'm very happy that I seem to be watching you guys grow as a band. And it's exciting to see where you're going to go from here.
Hopefully it goes, you know, up from here on out.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, that's it.
That is all. Thank you so much for you know, being with us. It was very fun. Had a lot of laughs here and there.
Yeah.
But it is time.
Thanks for having us on.
This now. Yeah, no problem, man.
Yeah, this was fun.
Very fun.
All right. Well, bye, guys.
Have a good night, guys.
Bye. Have a good one, y'all.